Okay, welcome everyone to our Recovery Appliance Backup Recovery AskTOM Office Hours for October. My name is Tim Chen, Director of Product Management for the Backup Recovery Technologies PM team. With me is Marco Calmasini, who is our Product Manager for Backup Service and other technologies. Together we're going to present this session. We're going to be going through the latest product updates for Recovery Appliance and Backup Service, and then also give you a glimpse of OpenWorld activities next week. So let's start with a Recovery Appliance product update. So the current generation of Recovery Appliance is X7, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of the sort of key updates in this generation. This was released earlier this year, and we just want to make sure that the customers understand the latest and greatest hardware platform that it runs on, and the space and throughput numbers that we have as well for X7. So the Recovery Appliance is an engineered system built for database protection. So those who are not familiar with it, we do have a resources page at the end of this session. It'll take you through more of this product. But basically, it's a sort of Oracle designed, if you will, system that will take backups from all your databases in your enterprise and creates virtual fulls from them so that they can be used for any restore purposes. So it's an incremental forever backup strategy, and we also support redo transport into the appliance. That is your redo data that you use today with your DataGuard standby databases that can be streamed directly to Recovery Appliance. So we capture, the system captures all the current changes and transaction information going on in your databases and creates archive log backups immediately from the redo. So you basically have, up to the last sub-second or 0 second of RPO for your recovery. So if you want more information on the system, follow the links on the last slide to learn more about this product. But as I said, it's an engineered system. Its hardware platform is leveraging the Exadata hardware and storage components. So every time the Exadata generation revs, the Recovery Appliance generation also revs. So that's why you see the X7 here. So this is an X7 high capacity rack with 2 compute servers and 3 storage. That's our configuration we call a base rack in Recovery Appliance. And it comes with 119 terabytes of usable space, and it comes with a throughput that we've internally benchmarked as 15 terabytes an hour for restore. So with this said, you can kind of, see where your requirements might fit in terms of space and in terms of performance that's required. Now, we're publishing the restore numbers because this is a change from X6, as I mentioned. These are double restore performance numbers because of the latest hardware generation, the compute servers that we support, and the 25 gig network connectivity. And we also have 25% increased capacity, usable capacity with X7. So these are 2 sort of big advancements since X6, or the previous generation. From a backup performance perspective, we have more information that can be accessed through your Oracle account team. So if you have questions about a backup throughput that's possible for these configurations, please look to your Oracle account teams. There is a difference with the backup throughputs, but as I mentioned, with incremental forever, we have the ability just to take the changes every day. So it's a tremendous reduction, if you will, of backup time and overhead compared to your typical full backup only, full backup based strategies. Okay. So as we move up the configurations, just to show, we also have a half rack here. This is a 9 storage server rack and approximately 360 terabyte usable capacity and 24 terabyte per hour restore. Okay, the 24 terabyte per hour restore is essentially the practical limits of our available bandwidth, okay, that you can get with our 25 gig networks here. You may be able to get more than this. You know, we've seen approximately 24 terabytes an hour sustained restore throughputs for high I/O server clients, database clients. These are databases running on Exadata that we use for our benchmarking. There are approximately 100 terabyte databases with on an Exadata with full network bandwidth to support the 25 gig. In this case, we have 4 25 gig connectivity into the system and out of the system. So these numbers we feel very confident on, and we believe customers can do this, maybe even more, assuming that their clients can drive potentially even more I/O, okay, on the client side. As we move up the stack, we go into a full rack configuration, which is our 18 storage servers. And this is a 729 terabyte usable capacity. And again, the 24 TB an hour is our practical limit, if you will, that we've benchmarked on our network configurations. And just another note on the virtual capacity here. The virtual capacity is based off of the usable, as you see here. We talk about virtual capacity because we're only doing the incrementals or the L1 backups forever to the recovery appliance. And so because you're not taking the full backups anymore, you can get dramatic space savings, and thereby you can store a lot more full backups as virtual, but they're normal L0 backups to your RMAN and database clients. So you can see the efficiencies there. We get a 10x efficiency, as you see here, by doing a incremental only. That's a 10% change rate that you see between the usable and the virtual. So that's what the virtual rates really term. That gives us a better comparison, I would say, versus a traditional backup systems that are based on regular full backups in their strategy. And then finally, as we expand to 18 racks, that's our available limit for interconnecting racks together. The beauty of this system is that as you interconnect and add more systems together, the combined system still acts as a single recovery appliance. It's just that your compute, connectivity, and your storage scales up commensurately. So you can see here with our 18 rack limit, we're at 36 compute servers that can be interconnected together, similar to how Exadata is interconnected, with a 13 petabyte usable capacity and a 430 terabyte per hour aggregate restore based on all the network configurations across the 18 racks, right? So this is a very large configuration. Obviously, it's not something that that customers may need today, but it just shows kind of the ability to scale from an interconnecting the rack perspective, so you can gain more performance and space. And as I said, the system is a single system for your backup, so you don't need to reconfigure your database clients when you add more racks. You don't need to point them to other storage appliances, etc. They can always go to the same rack as you scale out. A couple of the updates I want to share for recovery appliance is based on some of the new HA solutions that we have for operations done on the system. So this is what we call the high availability for backup recovery solution. And this is for cases where you have your appliance that is undergoing planned or unplanned outages. You may have service interruptions, you may have a patching window. This is our solution to preserve the backup and recovery operations, right? Obviously, it's very important if you don't have an appliance available that you have a secondary one that can pick up the work. So what we're showing here is a standard replication configuration for the system. That is, you have an upstream appliance and you have a downstream appliance, in this case, Osaka and Tokyo. And you have replication of backups from Osaka to Tokyo, right? The Tokyo appliance, the downstream, has ingested all those backups, does create all the virtual fulls, so you can connect your database clients to Tokyo and restore backups just as you can with Osaka. That's also the beauty of our replication mechanism. So any of the RAs can serve as recoverable systems. In the event that you have your upstream, in this case Osaka, that's has an outage or you have some kind of planned maintenance, then you can have the solution. Basically, it's a new configuration and a PL/SQL package that is installed in the upstream appliance, whereby your configuration for your database clients will fail over. So the redo that I mentioned before gets failed over automatically to the downstream appliance, Tokyo, and your RMAN backup, incremental backups, also get automatically failed over on the next run. So you basically have continuity of both the redo and the backups to the secondary appliance as Tokyo. The virtual fulls are created as normal on Tokyo, so you don't lose any recoverability, and your backups are continue to be preserved. So you have essentially a transparent kind of failover to the secondary appliance. When the upstream appliance, Osaka, is, in this case, is available again, then we have basically the procedure I mentioned, which is installed in your upstream appliance. That procedure essentially is sending pings down to the downstream and saying, do I need any interim level 1 backups that I don't know about, right, during that outage period? And so it will ping Tokyo and it will transfer those level 1 backups to Osaka, and the virtual full backups will be created to pick up, if you will, or to catch up the virtual backup strategies so that both are in sync. Now, the replication process will now be enabled because the upstream is now back online, and so the backups will still be replicated as well to the downstream. And Tokyo will actually deduplicate these backups, so we won't have duplicate or redundant backups during this process. Okay. So your overall benefits is you have now a sort of a out-of-the-box solution for HA during any kind of contingency planning. That is, your upstream is down or you have some kind of planned maintenance. We have a presentation and a support note that's now available. When we share out this presentation on the AskTOM site, you'll be able to get to this more information about this solution. But this is a key differentiator that we see in the typical backup or storage appliance industry, to be able to, at an Oracle database level, get all these benefits of incremental forever and zero data loss through the redo transport, and to be able to fail over and get automated resync capabilities after the outage is done, right? This is all kind of packaged for you in this solution. Now, the second thing I want to highlight here is a new solution that we call ZDL, cross-platform database migration. We know that customers do database platform migration quite a bit. I mean, it's a common activity, and especially with customers moving to engineered systems such as Exadata, Exadata Cloud at Customer, these activities become even more prevalent, right? And especially with legacy OS platforms, AIX, Spark, et cetera, this is a sort of high-in-demand kind of activity. And so we do meet customers who, ask us, are there better ways to do this? Is there more efficient ways? Reducing downtime? Is there faster ways to do this so I can migrate quicker? And so we set about to look at solutions based on Recovery Appliance, because this system, right, holds all the backups, the virtual fulls, the archive log backups, and it does restores complete recoverability as well. So that's kind of the seeds, if you will, to be able to do migration. This sort of backup and recovery central solution we found can be a very good tool for migration. So we developed a procedure as well as documentation around how to do this with Recovery Appliance. So I'm just going to walk you through a high level of this. You'll see more information available at this link at the bottom. Once we publish it, it should be out fairly soon. And so keep a watch for it. So what this solution offers is a reduction in downtime during migration. So what we expect is less than 2 hours, or just like a few hours worth of read-only downtime. So it's not complete downtime on the source, but read-only downtime, regardless of the DB size that's being migrated. Okay. The second benefit is we have an automation tool that comes with this solution that will simplify this entire process through a command line kind of interface. And this is especially useful for large databases with large number of data files. As you might know, large databases with thousands and thousands of files, migrating cross-platform, cross-Indian can be challenging, scripting that whole thing up because we have to move table spaces when we're doing cross-Indian. The third thing here is that this tool supports those same and cross-Indian platform migration activities. So you can use the same script and be able to do both types of migration activities if desired. So this supports source databases from Oracle 10G, right, through 18C. So as you're getting off of the now unsupported versions, you also might be looking to upgrade while you're migrating to a new platform, also upgrade the databases. And when you upgrade the databases, that can be done as a secondary step after the data is actually migrated first. Okay. Now, what I'm going to take you through here is just kind of a workflow of how this migration solution works. As I said, the intent is to dramatically reduce the migration time to a few hours or less, and to be able to do this very quickly and efficiently. So we have here, a recovery appliance. We have a source database with a table space called SOE. This source database is open. It's doing read-write, operations. Users are accessing it, and we're ready. We're going to start preparing this database to be migrated to a destination, which could be on Exadata, XSCC, basically any other destination platform. And in this case, your source is coming from a legacy OS platform like Spark or AIX, for example. So what we do here is that we do our normal level 0 or full backup to the recovery appliance. So your initial day one is just a level 0, and then you take your L1 backups for every day. So you basically prep the recovery appliance with the virtual fulls, and every incremental backup creates a new virtual full current as of the time of that incremental. So the beauty of this is that when you restore that virtual level 0, you don't actually apply those incrementals anymore. The virtual level 0 is restored as a full backup set coming back, and just this does not require any of those incrementals to be applied on top of it as a traditional recovery strategy would. So you have your incremental backups and the virtual fulls created every day, and on the destination, you can, in parallel, restore the latest virtual full that you have. Okay, so you can have the latest virtual full for that table space. Again, this is cross-Indian we're talking about, so you're doing things at a table space level. Your destination has already been set up with a shell database with a system, sysocs, undo in that destination OS platform format already, but we're now going to be restoring this table space and converting this at the same time into the new Indian. So this is what we call the restore from platform command. And this is available in 12C and higher databases. Okay, this is a new RMAN command. Basically do a restore of a data file and do the conversion to the new destination OS platform in the same command. So when you do, after you do that level 0 virtual full restore, so you have all your restored files of the table spaces done, right before you're ready to switch over, this is where we do a read-only kind of outage, if you will. And this is where you take your final level 1 incremental. This is done in read-only mode. The system takes, ingests that final incremental. At the same time, in parallel, after that operation, we're also doing an export of that metadata table spaces. So we have all the object information needed once we apply that last incremental to the restored files on the destination to plug in, if you will, based on transportable table space, to plug in this metadata information about the objects. So your final step is to do the restore and recover of that final incremental using the recover from platform command. It'll do the Indian conversion of the incremental inline. And you do an import of that data pump file at the destination as well. So your only impact to your source is read-only, and secondarily, it's only during this time where you have to take this final incremental and this export as well. The destination at this point has been recovered to a read-only state. Remember, because we did that read-only final incremental, it recovered all the files to consistent read-only state. You can open this read-only to verify the migrated data, and then you can finally open and read-write for business once it's ready. So We've got customers who've been using this for a number of months already as a kind of sort of beta or pre-release testing of our procedure, and they've had very good success in migrating hundreds of databases to their new Exadata platform from a legacy OS platform. So again, for the migration, look for that URL, that MAA web page that I posted, and we'll be posting that new solution there fairly soon. The other things I want to cover for Recovery Appliance are new EM backup reports and functionality to monitor the system. So when you take backups to Recovery Appliance, because there's an integration point between the database and the Recovery Appliance, EM also has that integration. And because of this, we can leverage a lot of smarts, if you will, of tracking the backups. As you see here, we have the EM backup report screen for this database console. And we've highlighted a backup that was taken to Recovery Appliance. And at the bottom, we have basically an end-to-end summary. We can show all the individual backup sets that were taken to the Recovery Appliance that were replicated, and if we had designated this database as copy to tape. So the copy to tape, and we also support copy to cloud now, that's the Oracle Cloud Storage, you'll be able to track all the metrics on that backup, when the backup was created, the size of that backup, and essentially have a way to verify that the backups are existing throughout this whole life cycle of your strategy. As a close-up, you can see that we have a virtual full backup for that backup job that we just shown, and we have both the level 0 backup and we have the incremental. So we have both versions as needed, as is needed by the RMAN clients. If they needed to restore, recover, they can use the level 0 virtual full, or if they need to restore just a level 1 incremental, they can do that as well, okay, as a virtual. And we can also drill down further into the backup piece details tab and be able to see the individual backup pieces as part of that backup set. So we can see each of those $, these are virtual backup piece names that the Recovery Appliance has created. And we can also see the tape copy backup piece that's been created as well. So very granular information on all the backups. This is integrated with database control or database plugin, and is available with your latest EM 13, I believe it's 13.3 version. We also have in 13.3 what we call a Tenant-View database monitoring and reporting. And this is very useful for the Recovery Appliance because the appliance is meant to hold backups from any number of databases, right? However, your users may have different privileges on the databases they have access to in order to do that backup and restore operation. So you have tenant groups, if you will, among your user groups. This functionality allows the tenant groups to be able to view the metrics for their own databases in the Recovery Appliance and not any other metrics for any other databases that they don't have been granted access to. So what we're showing here is your traditional Recovery Appliance management screen, which shows all the databases listed here. In this case, it's Montreal Recovery Appliance, and we're logging at sysman, which is our privilege in the credential in EM that has Recovery Appliance Administrator, and we're seeing all the databases here, the 9 databases that you see on the summary, and we can see issues related to these, any of these 9 databases as well. Now, when we log in as our new user called RA user 1, and in this case, the credential in EM is called FinDBA. FinDBA credential only has access to 3 databases, so not the full 9, but to only 3. And they can only see the metrics and the status for just their databases. So you effectively separated both duty and visibility, full visibility, to individual database tenant groups, okay, DBA tenant groups. And this is a read-only view, so they can't, tenants can't do any administration or changes to any of the policies or any kind of the settings on the Recovery Appliance. It's more, it's targeted for just being able to do read-only views and monitoring and metrics gathering as well for alerts. Okay, and then you'll see very similar screens, both at the admin level at the top and at the monitoring view level for the tenant view level at the bottom, except you're only going to see a filtered list of databases that you, the tenant, have been granted access to by the Recovery Appliance Administrator. Now next, we want to talk about the new System Activity Report that's available in BI Publisher. We have a number of reports today in the appliance, and the System Activity Report gives us a very nice snapshot of the state of your databases, both space utilization, state of the processing or tasks that are ongoing on the system, and can easily highlight issues that might need to be looked at. Okay, in this case, this report is showing a number of tasks that are running, and we have some tasks here that are highlighted in red. And we've actually created metrics to alert the user when these tasks don't finish within a certain amount of time, right? As you see here, we have some tasks that might be older than we expect, where that they haven't finished since some period of time, in this case like 7 days or longer ago. And we want to make sure that nothing is going on with those tasks. Perhaps there's some other system settings that have to be looked at. Perhaps some of the databases didn't finish taking their backups for a particular L1, for example. So these kinds of conditions you can easily look at and set metrics on from the System Activity Report. So now I'll just transition to Marco, who's going to give an update on the backup service and the latest there. Marco?
Yeah, thank you, Tim. So, yeah, quick update on the database backup cloud service. Can you go to the next slide, please, Tim? Okay, and you can, yeah, have that. So, recently, right, June this year, we introduced the Recovery Appliance Archive to Cloud feature, right? It gives the ability to extend the array recovery window, storing longer-term retention backups in the cloud. So it is now possible to define protection policies where you have certain amount of days protected on the recovery appliance itself and an additional extended amount of days or months in the cloud. And this gives you the option, obviously, of just extending the recovery window, but also to use the cloud as an alternative to tape to store long-term retention backups required for regulation purposes, and in this way eliminate tape vaulting services. There are many customers that are moving away from tape. They don't want to use tape anymore. So this is a good alternative to store backups in a secure off-site location. And it also gives the additional ability in case there's a need to restore an old copy, to restore it directly in the cloud instead of going through procuring services, procuring hardware or finding hardware to perform a new restore. And this is because the backups in the cloud are in standard RMAN format, so there is no need to install any application or configure anything. You can just use RMAN with the database backup cloud module. You point it to the container where the backups are located, and you can restore directly from there. It can also be used to set up test and dev in the cloud, for example, and things like that. All the backups are encrypted, so it means that the original backup taken from the protected database to the recovery appliance is not encrypted, but when the recovery appliance copies are moved backup pieces to the cloud storage, it encrypts them. And to do that, we use an external key manager that's Oracle Key Vault, and that's a prerequisite. So if you want to use this feature, you have basically two prerequisites to meet. One is Oracle Key Vault Server, which is a licensed product, and the other one is a cloud subscription that gives you access to the Oracle Cloud Storage so that you can store your backups in the cloud. Okay, so and for those of you that are familiar with the database backup cloud service, okay, that is exactly the same service that can be used to back up a database from on-premise generic database. You just use, as I mentioned, RMAN and the database backup cloud module. You know that it's a service that includes storage. So the way it works today, or it used to work until July when you introduced this new model, was that you subscribe to the database backup cloud service and you pay a little higher fees compared to the actual just generic object storage cost, and you get everything. You have one price, one service that includes the actual backup service, the license to use the database backup cloud module, the ability to use compression, advanced compression, and encryption that are also normally licensed options on databases. They are included with the service. You don't need them. You can still use advanced compression and encryption when you back up database to the cloud, right? So this is why there is this additional cost. So in the old model, there were two separate things. So a customer that is, that was backing up like 10 terabytes, like in this example, 10 terabytes of data, or consuming 10 terabytes of object storage in the cloud for RMAN backups. It was, needed a database backup cloud service subscription, and it was charged for that. And if he also or she was also using additional 5 terabytes of storage, that was charged as a different infrastructure as a service object storage price, two completely different subscription, two completely different services. For customers using non-metered service, this is still the case. It still works this way, right? But we are moving away from this approach, and with the new universal credit model, we use a different approach, which is, can I go to the next slide, please, Tim? Basically now, customers are charged based on the total capacity they are using in object storage as object storage infrastructure as a service, right? So in the example we saw earlier, all the 15 terabytes, customers are charged for all the 15 terabytes. It's right, that's all object storage. For the database backup cloud service, the customers are charged only for the additional cost, if you want, right? Like this little add-up cost. And this allows us to, use different infrastructures of whatever, and the things is not changing. You pay for the object storage based on the infrastructure service you're using, even cloud customer, whatever you want to use. That's one thing. And then you have this additional little charge for the database backup cloud service usage. So if you are backing up to the cloud from recovery plans, or copying or moving backups from the recovery plans to the cloud, these are the services that you need to subscribe to. It's example, generic object storage. It includes standard object storage and archive object storage. You can use both services and you are charged economically. So archive storage is cheaper than object storage, but you have a 4 hours delay to get your data back. So it's more intended for infrequently accessed data, right? So like as I mentioned, long-term retention backups that you plan on maybe not restoring, or just in case. Object storage gives you the ability to read and write objects anytime. It's always available for immediate restore, but it's a little bit more expensive. So these are the difference between the two. And I think that's all. So you can go ahead, Tim.
All right. Thank you, Marco. So we're going to conclude with just an update of OpenWorld activities happening next week in San Francisco on our technologies. So we have a number of sessions on Recovery Manager and Recovery Appliance. On Monday, we have our RMAN session that Marco is presenting on latest generation features for on-premises and cloud. This will feature Exelon Corporation and their solution using RMAN with Recovery Appliance. And we'll also discuss 19C features, implications of TD encryption, and then practices surrounding cloud backup and migration to cloud using RMAN backups. On Wednesday, we're going to have a session on the recovery appliance leveraging integration with Oracle Cloud. This will have a co-speaker from Dialog Semiconductor who use recovery appliance to do migration from their legacy platforms into Exadata Cloud at Customer. And it will feature more details about this EM Tenant-View reporting that I showed, as well as on the Exadata Cloud at Customer integration and the integration with Archive to Cloud. Also on Wednesday, we have our Architecture and Best Practices session for Recovery Appliance. We have a speaker, Metro from Germany, who has done quite a bit of work with Recovery Appliance across their 100+ databases. And they're also looking to do both migration to Exadata Cloud at Customer and to use Cloud Archive to Cloud in the future. So in this session, we'll discuss our latest deployment, monitoring, and operational best practices. We're also going to have our standard demos at the exhibit hall at Moscone South, Monday through Wednesday. You can come by to talk to experts. We'll have live demos showing archiving to cloud. We'll do walkthroughs of both the migration as well as the new high availability for backup recovery solutions. And we'll also have demos on RMAN, secure backup, and backup cloud service. The link at the bottom is a blog post, which will kind of highlights the must-see Exadata and recovery appliance sessions at OpenWorld. So just to conclude here, we first talked about X7 and to highlight the 25% increased capacity and the double restore performance versus the previous generation X6 that we had. And we also discussed the new differentiators, through this presentation, the new kind of updates for high availability, for migration, enhanced reporting, and now cloud backup services integrated with recovery appliance. Backup cloud service is ideal for enabling DR and test dev in the cloud, right? It's also ideal for starting your journey to move production databases and loads into the cloud, right? So, the great thing is the technology and the process is same as today, right? Using basic RMAN commands to be able to do so. And there's additional tooling available in the cloud as well to be able to create new databases from cloud backups. If you will be at OpenWorld next week, and you have questions from this presentation or our products, we'd like to meet with you if possible. You can contact our team via the AskTOM page with your question or any other comments you have on these topics. At this point, I'll see if there's any other chat questions available, and if not, we'll just close the call. And a couple of questions about upgrading from 10G to 18C for EBS PeopleSoft. Our migration solution is application agnostic. It's at a database level. So as long as you have database backup supported with Recovery Appliance and your destination is a 12C or higher version database, then you can use our solution. There was a question about standard edition. Standard edition backups can be done to Recovery Appliance. You can have the virtual fulls created, the redo transport also used. But you do need to check on any of the limitations for using for the migration solution for transportable table spaces. I don't have that doc on hand. There may be some restrictions on how you can use transportable table spaces here. So just check the doc on that and then look further from there. Okay. I don't see any other chat questions here available, so I'm going to close this session. The recording will be posted here, and actually there'll be a resources page. Let me just leave that with you. We have a resources page with our where you can find more information about our products, the best practices that I mentioned, and sessions here for the previous sessions for AskTOM that you can look for the keyword backup, and you'll be able to see all previous AskTOM session as well. So thank you again for your time and participating, and we'll speak to you in the next AskTOM session.